Come on. Okay. These are ready. All right. Whenever may I like to start, I'll have just about 6 o'clock now.
All right, let us call to order the regular meeting of the Bishop City Council on January 25th, 2021 at 6:01 p.m. Our invocation today will be given by Pastor Tony Younger of the First Southern Baptist Church. And then once the invocation is complete, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Garcia. So if you guys wouldn't mind standing for the invocation and pledge.
I believe I'm unmuted now.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Well then, let me pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. Thank you that we seem to have some winter coming for our year. And Lord, we just recognize your great majesty and your wisdom and your power. And we ask that you would invoke those tonight as decisions are made affecting the lives of our citizens and our friends and our families, and that decisions would be made on the basis of what's best for all of our community, and that you would lead us to the truth in what that is. And Father, just extend your grace to every member that's here today of the City Council and those attending the meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Everyone, please join me. Ready, set, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Robin, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Okay, Councilmember Khan.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz.
Here.
Mayor Mahovey.
Here. All right, moving on to public comment. This time is set aside to receive public comment on matters not calendared on the agenda. When recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Under California law, the City Council is prohibited from generally discussing or taking actions on items not included on the agenda. However, the City Council may briefly respond to comments or questions from members of the public. Therefore, the City Council will listen to all public comment, but will not generally discuss the matter or take action on it. Robin, do we have some public comment that was sent earlier?
Yes, we received one public comment on our public comment email address. I'll be happy to read that now, if you'd like.
Okay.
It's received from Ted Carlton. Dear City Council, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, has any headway been made in sorting out the council retiree benefit issue? If your city attorney has been sick or on leave, the delay is understandable. If he has not been sick or on leave, then let's have it. This issue is not going away. If he doesn't have very good news, that doesn't give him or any of you a right to bury it. Sincerely, Ted Carlton. And I don't see any other public comments received at this time. Jenny, do you see any ways?
No hands raised.
Okay. No further public comment.
Okay, I believe our city administrator did address this particular public comment, and in particular calling for patience because this is, of course, an ongoing matter and now involves CalPERS. And so there's a lot of due diligence that we actually have to do to be able to get it through. But yes, it has not been neglected. Anyone else? Anyone attending, raising their hands?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, then moving right along to our presentation. Our presentation today is a presentation of the city tile to the one and only Jose S. Garcia for his time served as the planning commissioner for the city of Bishop. Robin, did you want to take this one? Or?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Jose S. Garcia was appointed to the City of Bishop Planning Commission on April 8, 2013. It is appropriate that Mr. Garcia be recognized for his outstanding contributions to the City of Bishop and for serving over 7 years on the Planning Commission. Staff would recommend that council make a presentation tonight of the city tile to former Planning Commissioner Jose S. Garcia for his years of service on the Planning Commission. Mayor Hovey?
Yeah, so we definitely appreciate everybody who gives back to our community. Jose Garcia is absolutely no exception. And we have a city tile to present to him. Here is the actual tile. And it says, for outstanding public service as a member of the Planning Commission from 2013 to 2020 from the Bishop City Council. So you may collect this at the city offices. And I guess it's kind of exciting that like typically we just give these tiles when people serve out their terms, but you got suckered in to do even more community service. So we definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. It's my honor, and it has been a pleasure serving Bishop as a community as a whole. It was very fun and a learning experience being part of the Planning Commission alongside of people that have served the Planning Commission for over 30 years, such as Dr. Lothar. And everybody else that did so over the 7 years that I was part of the Planning Commission. So thank you.
Well deserved. Okay, now shall we move on to department reports. So unfortunately, Fire Chief Joe Dell is attending a quarterly EMCC meeting, so he will not be able to give us his report today. So we will start out with Acting Police Chief Josh Ellsworth.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just a few things. The days prior to the presidential inauguration, the department participated in phone conversations with the FBI and received daily updates regarding threats towards certain federal and state buildings. Information was provided regarding possible protests and threats in certain areas, none of which were identified in our region. We spoke with other law enforcement partners around our area about any threats or concerns. However, no concerns were identified the days prior to the inauguration. On that day, officers conducted extra patrols in the public spaces, such as parks, city and county buildings. No protests occurred on the day of the inauguration, and no suspicious or concerning activities occurred on inauguration day. In light of the upcoming storm, the department has been going through making sure all four-wheel drive vehicles and equipment is prepared and ready for this upcoming event. So, and we're also anticipating a lot of traffic come this weekend with the mountain having fresh snow. So that's all I have, unless council has any questions for me. Okay, thank you.
All right, Public Works Director Destin Deschamps.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just a few things to update on. And Robin, I think, is actually going to put up some photos that I should have had at the last meeting, but I thought it'd be great background while I was giving my update. Some photos of our last few major water leaks. This is the one on Line Street. like I said, just background, I brought you up to speed on those. And again, want to thank the crew for the great job they did on it. First of all, Caltrans has what they're calling an emergency project that's going to be happening on Main Street, hopefully sooner than later, but definitely will not affect any of our major holidays. They are seeing some pavement failure on Main Street between Y Road and south city limits of town, J Street, say. They plan on grinding the wheel paths on both sides of the roads in various locations, grinding out 4 inches and repaving. The operations will move fairly quickly. They'll just almost be moving traffic control and shouldn't have a huge effect on our town. And they're definitely trying to plan it around fishing season or mule days or any potential big event. But I wanted you guys to be aware of that upcoming work. Also, today Public Works put out a press release on snow, since snow looks like it's in our forecast again. And it's been a few years since we really had much. And just want to remind everybody that first and foremost, the city doesn't own a lot of snow removal equipment. We have 2 plow trucks, a loader, and a backhoe. So we primarily plow snow for emergency access. That's to get the police and fire to any street in town. So we'll start off with 1 lane pass down the street. And then as we get caught up or ahead of the snow, we start opening more of the road up, as in making it wider. So please remember, be patient. The public there'll be some berms on the road, but until things warm up, we'll work on keeping things open. And the other part of the press release is, please, everyone, the sidewalk in front of your property is your responsibility for that maintenance. So try to keep it shoveled off the best you can, especially if you live on the shady side of a street where once one cold night and it freezes, we'll have ice for a month over there. And what else do we have? Just a little update to kind of let the entire council know. Councilman Ellis and I have worked on the placement of trash cans in the Highway 6 truck parking area down near the new county building in Ford. It's not in the city limits, that area, but we felt like it's you're coming into Bishop, and that's the first, you only get 1 chance at a first impression. So it's been a lot of, definitely some more trash than we ever dreamed it was going to be. And Public Works empties them 2 to 3 times a week. And it's starting to get a little bit, I don't want to say overwhelmingly in the way that we can't do it, but it's turning into a bigger effort than we thought. So I've initiated conversations with Caltrans. We're going to try to meet Caltrans, DWP, and the county and try to come up with some more solutions, like even potentially porta potties in the area, something to help with that kind of mess down in that area. A truck stop is a long ways away from happening, so we need to look at immediate solutions that are affordable for all of us. And I think other than that, that's really all I have for you tonight. Unless you have any questions of me.
No, thanks, Desmond. I guess one question I have is, 1/2 of the street is city limits and the other half is not, right? For that particular area, because I think city limits still keeps going to the Ford dealership.
So the city limits does continue, actually even almost to the Williams Creek or Bishop Creek area, but the actual city limits is the back of sidewalk.
Okay.
So the right of way, like I said, it's part of us, but we don't just have control of it. So that's why I'm working with the other agencies to try to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Any other questions or comments from council?
Great work, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Destin.
All right, Community Services Manager Dan McElroy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I would like to take some time to recognize all the staff in our Community Services Department. First off, in our programming, we have the After School Program and Kind Program. Brittany Wiles oversees the program, and her and her staff have dealt with numerous challenges due to COVID-19. We call it pivoting, I believe is the word now. They continue to modify schedules and keep our kids positive through these challenging times. In our KIND program, CJ remains committed to our outdoor learning experience. We have between 9 to 10 participants each week and look forward to having the KIND program in the park with some warmer weather. Next up is our Sunrise Mobile Home Park. Don Salak works there, and he continues to do a lot of cleanup and upgrades to units, as we have seen some significant turnover in the last year. As you guys know, we've sold multiple units, and we've also had other private units for sale. In our maintenance staff with Waylon and Sam, they continue to work on trays around City Hall and Warren Street and do any building maintenance as needed. I know they've done some installs of some shields in the sheriff's office and just some general work around City Hall. Next up is our admin, and Carrie, of course, is our community services secretary, and you'll get to hear from her tonight. And really my words of encouragement to them is to stay the course, and there is light at the end of the tunnel for us. We're to keep looking forward to summer and our busy season, and that I appreciate all their hard work. And that's my report tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, you're definitely not the only one who appreciates all of their hard work. Our community services staff does do amazing things with their limited budget and the limited manpower, and having all of these curveballs thrown at them all the time definitely throws a wrench in it. But like you said, they're pivoting and adapting, and we definitely appreciate them.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Dan, what are we looking at numbers wise in those two after school programs?
After school programs right now, we have 20 pushing to 28 kids, depending, in our after school program. It just depends on the weeks and the availability. But yeah, we're set up to run 28 kids total in after school, and then around 9 to 10 in the KIND program. We like to keep the, of course, those groups are in groups of 10 with 2 instructors in each group. So.
Thank you.
You got it.
And Dan, I guess last week you were watering the park, and now you're getting ready for branches to fall, maybe?
Yeah, you know, it's typical winter in Bishop. We water one week, and then, yes, we pick up branches the next. So we're also getting prepared for a lot of weather coming in. So our snow shovels are waxed, and our crews are ready to shovel and deal with it as it comes. So exciting.
Any other comments or questions from the council? No. Okay, then moving right along to the Associate Planner / Economic Development Coordinator / Administrator of SCOG, Elaine Kabala. How many titles are you going to keep collecting?
Good evening, Mayor Mahove and council. I don't have much by way of updates this evening, but I'll just update you on 2 items. First is there's state planning funds that have been made available through a regional grant, and so we've been coordinating with AMO County to secure a portion of that funding, and that will help subsidize the specific plan and the associated CEQA work for adoption. And so that's a good thing, to just make sure that that plan is well developed and robust, and that the CEQA is done really well so that we can implement that project. My other update is that we also received state funding through the LEAP grant program to fund our housing element update, which is required this year and is due at the end of April. Because we were waiting for the state to send us the agreement on that. We're probably not going to hit that end of April deadline. But we had an RFP out for consultants for the last month. That closes tomorrow, and we've received one proposal, so we'll be able to get started with that soon. That is all my updates for this evening, unless you have questions.
No. Thanks for that. And last but not least, City Administrator Ron Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The ESSRP partner meeting is Thursday from 1 to 3. And I believe any of you are invited to attend that if you like. If you're interested, Karen Schwartz or I can send you the link for that meeting. I'll be discussing the projects that have been suggested for the sustainable recreation program. And Elaine will talk more about that later in the meeting. Fortunately, the state lifted the stay-at-home order today, and we are delighted for businesses in the community and all the residents that that has been lifted, and there's more opportunity now to support our business community. Grateful to see that happen. And vaccinations are continuing with the northern and southern Inyo hospitals and the county health department. Also, Toyabe is issuing vaccinations. We now are at the point where Inyo County is getting about 300 vaccines a week. And we'd like to see more coming in, but it seems that the promises made by the federal government in December are not holding true throughout the country. So hopefully that will change soon. That's the extent of my report. Thank you very much.
Any questions from anyone? Karen?
Hey, Ron, I was just wondering if you had heard anything back from any of the hotel owners about the initial letter you sent out. I know you sent a follow-up letter today, but about the initial letter you sent out last week.
There were two questions that came from two different owners, managers of hotels, but they were very cooperative and we're happy to comply. Fortunately, now a week later with the stay-at-home order lifted, it's no longer necessary to have the guests say that they're essential workers. So that no longer is necessary. And we're delighted we're at that point.
And I'm delighted to hear that they were, very cooperative and understandable. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to hear. And I guess the the main difference with moving with the stay-at-home order being lifted, I just want to remind everybody we're still in purple, in category purple, which means widespread spreading of the virus in our community. And I believe effectively we would have to cut the number of new cases that we're getting in half to be able to move away from that. So we're grateful that our businesses can start opening up in limited capacity, but we definitely want to remind everybody to be vigilant and so that we protect ourselves, our community, and our loved ones. Jose?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. If I may add a comment to Ron's report on continuing the vaccination in Inyo County. Mm-hmm. For council and staff and for the community's knowledge, the vaccination line that started receiving phone calls on January the 4th, a phone line dedicated for the general public to call and schedule an appointment to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, as they qualify within the phase 1A. The day the line opened and started receiving phone calls, that telephone line at Northern Inyo Healthcare District received 10,000 phone calls just from Inyo and Mono County, because Northern Inyo Hospital has been working with Inyo County, and it was decided to offer the vaccine for residents, qualifying residents of Mono County as well. So of those 10,000 phone calls, one single individual called 400 times, but he was successful and scheduled his appointment. So this just tells the public that the line is functioning. Probably several thousand individuals were not able to go through and get their call answer. And that is because of that. It was one line and 10,000 phone calls in not 24 hours, but in 8 hours, 10,000 phone calls. Right now, there is a waiting list of over 1,000 individuals who want to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. But obviously there is more, but the waiting list, it's over 1,000.
Wow.
So good news that our community wants to get the vaccine. As soon as Northern Inyo Healthcare District, Inyo County receive several hundred to over 1,000 doses, we are planning on scheduling a mass vaccine event for several hundred people to be vaccinated a day. So yes, our community is getting the vaccine as soon as possible.
That's great to hear, Jose. One question I have is we in Inyo County have made it available to residents of Mono County. Has the reciprocal also been true?
I am not aware of that. I believe we are getting, Inyo County is getting the bulk of the vaccine. So I am not aware that Mono County is, I know Mammoth Hospital has a lot of the vaccines that they have been administering to their staff, but I am not aware that they are offering it to residents of Inyo County.
Okay, because I believe, yeah, Mammoth Hospital in Mono County reported that they have received 4,700 doses of the vaccine, which is,
that's a pretty good number.
I believe, more than we have in Inyo.
Probably so.
And our population is A, larger, and B, older. And so
yes,
I would hope there would be that sort of a,
I hope so too. I just don't have that information.
Cool. Thanks. Good to know, though.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to when I get on some list.
Yes. You and a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Ron Phillips? Nope. Okay, then moving on to our Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau update from the Executive Director, Tawny Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and Ron and Robin. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. My audio seems like it's giving a little bit of feedback, so I just want to make sure that it was okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to give you a bit of an update. I've missed you because I didn't make it to the December meeting. So it's been since November, since we've chatted. So you were provided a written report. And so I'll just really briefly summarize that because I know you have lots of things going on. We continue to receive new members. Even during a pandemic, we got 3 new members in the last month. We're continuing to work closely with Inyo County Public Health in distributing the free masks and bottles of hand sanitizer to businesses. We recently received a resupply of that. So if any business out there or nonprofit organization or church needs a supply, they can just email or give us a call at the chamber and we'll get that to them. Because like we talked about, we have to remain vigilant, even though the vaccinations are starting and we've moved to the purple tier and things are starting to open up. It's more important than ever to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prevent the spread. So free PPE for anybody who needs it in the business world. Our holiday events, as Dan, to use Dan's word, we pivoted because we couldn't do the traditional things. And then in the end, we couldn't even do our plan B, which was going to be the drive-through parade. So we switched it up and we went with a shop local raffle and a home and business decorating contest. And both were really successful. And I really want to shout out to Carrie Poole because she was really helpful, especially with the decorating contest. So thanks, Carrie. Some other collaborations, working with the county on vaccine messaging, using our social media reach to get information out to folks. There is on the Inyo County website a very comprehensive page that tells about when you can expect to get your vaccine, what stage we're in now, and then there's a place to actually sign up online, and they'll put you on that master waiting list. So you don't necessarily have to call the phone number 400 times. You can actually do it, sign up on the website, and they'll get with you when they have a space available. We're also working with the Office of Education and Saracoso College on the new Adult Education Center, and with county administration on the new Small Business Resource Center. So, heading out of the pandemic, there's lots of really good things to be looking forward to as we move toward recovery. A few things I forgot to mention on my written report. One is this Thursday, January 28th, there is an online all day or 9 to 4 virtual conference that's called Thrive. And it's a leadership conference. And I highly recommend that if you're a leader in a church or a nonprofit or a business at all, to consider joining that. Usually these conferences, when they're in person, come with a pretty expensive registration fee. This one is completely free. And we found out about it through Pastor Rick from the Calvary Baptist Church. So it's not a religious thing, it's a leadership conference. But that's January 28th. If you're interested, the chamber can give you the link for that. Also, next month, the Visit California Outlook Forum is going to be February 18th and 19th in the mornings. And again, that's usually a conference that costs a whole lot of money to go to. This year, they're offering it for free. And it's not just for destination marketing or management organizations and people in the industry, but our city council members, city staff, some county administration staff will be going. It's really, I think, going to be very valuable insight into what we have to look forward to as the tourism industry moves forward into recovery post-pandemic. So just let me know and I can give you the link for that. And then last, the chamber board meeting, we changed the date. We're on the second Wednesday now of each month. So we moved to get off of the county conflict with their board meetings, and then we ended up as a conflict with the city staff meetings. So we moved again to the second Wednesday, and I hope that facilitates attendance from council members and or staff when possible. And then moving on to the Visitors Bureau report, unfortunately, we have had to postpone 2 fishing events, one, the Trout Rodeo that was scheduled for February, and the Blake Jones event, which was scheduled for March 13th. Even though things are starting to open up and we're getting vaccines, we just did not feel like we would be able to do a proper Blake Jones Derby with a mass gathering so soon. So we're looking for a date later in the summer. We still do plan to have the event, but we just want to do it when it's safe and we can do it well. We have purchased some of our annual advertising. Our social media team continues to do a great job, not necessarily promoting visitation to our destination right now, But again, keeping in contact with our existing customers and nurturing those relationships and promoting responsible recreation when they do come. The phone calls and inquiries really dropped off when we went to the shutdown, the stay home order. And we were starting to get a lot of people that were sort of angry about why we were considered in the Southern California region. They didn't quite understand that, but hopefully now today, things will be better on that front since we're moving into the purple tier. Let's see, what else do I have to tell you? Oh, occupancy. Even though there was a stay home order, there was an allowance for essential and emergency type travel. And in December, our occupancy was about 45%. And last year it was 59%. And the first half of January is tracking at 47%. And last year it was about 53.5%. So we've been consulting with lots of industry professionals, trying to read the crystal ball about what is coming post-pandemic. We really feel like our area is going to be very busy once things open up fully. I think we're going to have a very, very solid, busy summer, which is great. And speaking with some of the resort owners, they've told me that they have a lot of first-time reservations coming, which is a great opportunity for us to really, show them a really great time and hopefully convert those first-time customers into repeat and long-time customers. So we're gearing up for that. So with that, I don't have anything else unless anybody has questions.
Well, that's great to hear, Tanya. I really appreciated how your marketing messaging switched to being responsible, and actually there's a bigger message that's being focused on, which is to recreate responsibly and to be good stewards and all of that stuff. And I really hope that that carries through with these first-time visitors, because like you're saying, that's a great time to make a great impression, but that's also the time to let them know to like not trash the place, to respect everywhere, to recognize that a lot of these areas, yeah, you may pick up your dog's poo and put it on the side of the road, but there's no one to pick it up. So if you're gonna pack it out, so yeah.
Absolutely. And our main focus for all of our messaging is responsible recreation, and education and outreach is going to be more important now than ever with all these, potentially first-time visitors coming. So we're getting geared up. we've been doing it for a while, but we're going to definitely step it up.
Any other questions or comments from council? No. Thanks again, Tanya.
Thanks, guys.
All right, moving on to our Eastern Sierra Tri-County Fairgrounds quarterly update from the CEO, Jen McGuire. We have Jen today,
Good
right?
evening. Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. Can you guys hear me okay?
We sure can.
All right. Well, I gave you a brief written recap of my report, but the first item on there is our Western Fairs Association, which is an industry conference we have every year. We were fortunate enough this year, and I've issued a press release, and I think everybody already knows about it. We were nominated, and we won a Merrill Award, which is like the Oscars of the fair industry, and it's pretty prestigious, and it's pretty special, especially when it comes from our peers. And some of these peers have been in the industry for 30, 40 years, and to recognize Bishop was just such a morale booster for us and my volunteers, because Bishop's come a long way. We were that fair that they used as an example of what not to do. But now it's quite the opposite. We're being used as an example of what to do and how to turn things around. And having said that, I'm going to cue Robin and Jenny to play a video that was part of our presentation for our virtual conference.
Okay, I'm working on it, guys. Sorry, guys, let me get the sound fixed. Okay.
Hi, this is Jen with Eastern Sierra Tri-County Fairgrounds in Bishop, California, and this is our story.
Back in January of 2020, Jason Brown of Laughing Parrot Productions approached our CEO, Jim McGuire, with an idea to build a drive-in with an old movie screen he was given from the remodel of our local Bishop Twin Theater. It seemed like a great idea, but at the time there was no urgency for it. Then, COVID-19 arrived. All non-essential businesses were closed, and our events began to get canceled, one after the other. In June, Jen reached out to Jason to see if they could make this idea work. They had Mark from Eastern Sierra Entertainment join the team, and the three of them had a meeting to see if they could make this dream a reality. The next thing you know, we took an old cow pasture, and with Bill's Towing's help, we moved some old graffiti tractor trailers and a huge hay wagon destined for the dump into position. We lifted the hay wagon about 10 feet into the air, stained some old pallets to wrap the wagon. We used old telephone poles for support, and with the help of many volunteers, voila, we had a drive-in movie theater and concert venue. So how did this drive-in help save Bishop? Well, the price of a ticket and some money from our sponsors helped support our local audio company, our film company, our website developer, our social media company, our restaurants like Billy Bob, Pino Pies, Salsa, and Rolling Chef, who showed up to sell food at our events. Our movie theater was able to sell popcorn and snack to keep their employees working and make their mortgage. It kept our waste management company going by providing us with portable restrooms, our local printers by printing our COVID-19 signage and banners. Our advertisements in the local papers helped the presses keep running. Our radio ads kept the stations on the air, and our TV spots kept those stations broadcasting. We are so proud of how we took a bunch of junk destined for the dump and built a drive-in that provided an opportunity for many of our local businesses to stay open and for our community to have a safe place to go, watch movies and concerts from the safety of their vehicles.
All right. Thank you for that. I guess the moral of the story of this, it wasn't so much we built a drive-in, is it that, you know, we're fortunate to be in a community where we can help each other. And I've always said, if you have community, you have everything, especially in this industry. And I just a firm believer, if you have your community and you have each other's backs, we can get through anything. And I think we're proving that in our mighty little town of Bishop. On top of that, you know, it was a unique project because it was built out of recycled materials, and it really trying to educate the public that the price of a ticket doesn't just go to the fairgrounds. You know, the fairgrounds were not state funded, even though we're a state facility. We don't get any money from the state. We are self-supported. We have to raise our own money, and so this project was so unique that the price of a ticket just didn't help us. It really helped so many others, and that's with anything we do on grounds. It doesn't go in our pocket. It really helps so many others and keeps our local community thriving. On top of that, we also won first and second in the junior livestock virtual auction category. We also won some awards in the drive-through entertainment and community outreach. So again, those are just they're feathers in our cap. They're morale boosters for us, and it was kind of we needed it at the right time. So it was great to receive that news. Going on to our facility project report, we're working with several outside agencies just on special projects here on grounds, whether it's winterizing our grounds, fixing water leaks, our electricity, patching roofs, trimming trees. We're working with DWP, CAL FIRE, Edison, the county, the city, just to kind of help us out a little bit. It's so important for us to keep our facility up and running, especially during this time. And we're not a place just for events. I think we've proven that here, especially throughout the pandemic. I think we've had our best year yet in terms of doing our most important work. You know, we're currently a COVID testing site. We're in a Amaka food distribution. We had the drive-through vet clinic last week. We had a fire camp this past summer. We're going to be a possible vaccination site. So, and not to mention all the youth events that we actually host here. So it's really important to kind of keep our grounds up and current. So when we can open, that we're ready to go. The 2021 event update. Because we are state, even though the rest of the state may open in terms of restaurants and shopping and that kind of thing, we're on a different schedule. We're considered a place for mass gatherings until the state lifts the mass gathering rule or gives us some sort of guideline of how we can host a mass gathering. We kind of have to we have to tote the line a little bit. We're moving forward with Mule Days right now and with some other events. And we realize we're going to have to modify possibly and pivot and make some changes if needed. But right now we're going to move forward and see what happens. We just don't know what the state's going to give us. The state may say we have to follow this incredible list of guidelines in order to open up and have people here on grounds. We just don't know yet. And we're hoping to get that information sometime really, really soon. As far as the California State High School Rodeo Finals, that is such an important event to our community as well as all the others. But if I'm committed to hosting it one way or the other. Again, if I have to modify it, if we have to do it in small groups like we did the Junior Livestock Show, whatever we have to do to make Bishop their home this year for the state finals, we'll do that. If we don't do it, then it's going to go someplace else, and we'll lose it probably for quite a while. So I'm committed to do what I have to do and make the modifications and make it work. As far as our fair, we're so far out in fair. It's the first weekend of September. I think we might be okay, but if not, I'm committed to doing a virtual fair where exhibits still can be entered and we can view them virtually. I may even do that anyway. So if we can open back up and we have patrons actually walking on the grounds, people who don't feel safe walking on grounds, they can still view the exhibits from their homes. So we're still going to do a virtual fair somehow. We would still have entertainment. We have Winona Judd booked for our main entertainment. We will do it tailgate style if we need to. And of course, host a plethora of food activities. But we definitely will do something that weekend. One of the goals for 21 for me is I'm really going to focus on trying to get some additional equestrian and rodeo events here in Bishop. Just bring some new ones here. The Cowboys love Bishop. They do. They really love it. And if I can make it work and get some of these new events in here, I think they're safe and I think they're very doable. And that's one of my goals. A new project this year is we're launching a feasibility study regarding combining the Junior Livestock Show and the Tri-County Fair. There will be a press release issued on that for more information. But to kind of give you a quick little background, in 2018, the Board of Directors approved conducting a study to see if it's feasible, if it's doable, and if it's in the best interest of the fair and the JLA to combine both events. But now the situation is a little bit different because of COVID. The fair industry has suffered a tremendous loss with vendors and concessionaires and food booths and carnival companies and whatnot. And our fair currently is on Labor Day weekend, which is a tough weekend to host any event, especially in this area. So I'm afraid that having a fair on Labor Day weekend just may not pan out like we're used to. I don't think we're going to get the vendors and the concessionaires and the food booths and all the fun stuff that we go to fair to see. So we're launching this study to kind of figure it out. Is now the time to change? Is now the time not to change? We're putting together a stakeholders list of community members, and actually Mr. Ellis is on that list, and as well as former Mayor Laura Smith. So again, we'll really issue a press release with more information regarding the study and all the data. And again, this was launched in 2018. It was tabled until they hired a new CEO, and now it's on my plate to conduct the study, gather the information, and we'll figure it out what we're going to do in the future for the fair dates. And nothing will change until 22 or 23. So it's a little bit far out, but we're going to really leave no stone unturned when we do this study. As far as our budget, we're down like everyone else, a tremendous amount. We've got two budgets we're working off of for 21. One is basically mirrors last year, and another actually has us having a few events towards the end of summer, maybe fall, some revenue events. We're not going to get any relief from the state. We've all been hoping for it. It's not going to happen. So we're just going to figure it out ourselves. We're applying for many grants through our nonprofit arm, which is Friends of the Fair. And we're hopeful we'll get some grants from those avenues. And bottom line, we'll just continue to be creative and strong, and we'll get through it. Events may look different because of the COVID and the impact it's had on the industry, but we will definitely get through it. And finally is, our community lost a great treasure, and that was Mr. Chuck Kilpatrick. He worked so close, and he was so special to the California High School Rodeo Program and to the queens of the High School Rodeo Program. And we're working with them currently to honor him in some special way. And again, we'll issue a press release and more information and get the chamber and the city and everybody involved in that. But there'll be something very, very special honoring Chuck Kilpatrick with the High School Rodeo. And that conducts my report.
Thanks for that, Jen. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the very well-deserved and well-earned award. And then I do have a couple of quick questions for you, if you're still on the line.
Yeah.
One of them had to do with the high school rodeo finals. I remember that was going out for bid, but was that for bid last year, or is it upcoming? Because it was a 5-year contract, right?
Yeah, it went out for bid in 2019, and we actually got the bid back to Bishop. We had a few competitors out there that really, really wanted it, and Jim Ellis was one of the ones that went and helped me solidify that and bring it back home to Bishop. And that's why it's so important. There's a lot of fairgrounds out there that want the high school rodeo. And it's not just the fairgrounds, it's the communities. The communities know how valuable it is to the community. But the rodeo, the kids, they love coming to Bishop. So if I can make it work somehow in even small little categories, small little modules, I'll make it work.
Okay, great. And one last question with regards to junior livestock. Is the date already set for that for this year?
Yes.
Okay. The main reason
junior
I asked,
livestock. Yeah, nothing's going to change with junior livestock, and nothing will change with junior livestock in the future. If we move any dates around, it's going to be the fair dates. But junior livestock is going to be, looking at my calendar now, it's in June. It's the same week as it was last year, with the auction on June 26th will be the JLA auction, and then the week of June 21st will be the JLA show.
I see. Okay. Yeah. The only reason I ask is that I know people have to get their piglets at the right time, and so whoever's raising those piglets needs to be aware of the start date or of the date well in advance, obviously. Cool. Thanks, Jen. Any other questions or comments from council?
I would like to congratulate you, Jen. You sound so upbeat. You have, even before COVID, the fair was the best it had ever been. And you've just made great strides with our fairgrounds. And I look forward to COVID being over and seeing what you do when you actually are at full capacity. So well done.
Thank you.
And quickly, Jen, thank you and congratulations on the award, and kudos to you and all the volunteers who want to keep that fair going and keep your part of our community going. So it's great to see. I got to attend a couple of the events there, and it was a fun time in the best of the worst of times. So it was a good job, and I look forward to working with you. If we have to work harder on the high school rodeo, let me know. I'd be more than happy to assist that again. I think it's incredibly valuable, everything you do. And to echo a little bit of Karen, Jen, you've done an amazing job, and thank you. A lot of people have a can-do attitude sometimes. You have a how-do. I love that you don't take bad at face value. You reach around it and find a new way to do something and keep surviving. So keep it going, Jen. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Karen Kong, you had her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I too am excited to see when all of this is behind us, this COVID stuff, what what you can bring to the fairgrounds, and all the things we'll be excited to see. I do have a question though about the rodeo. You've been in touch with them. Are they holding their preliminary events and things? Those are going forward as planned?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been holding district rodeos, and I actually hosted one district rodeo here. And yeah, they're moving forward.
Okay, good.
Jose, you also had your hand up, but you're muted.
Not anymore. Thank you. Jen, congratulations on outstanding work you have been doing. And you might not know this, but between late 2019 and early 2020, I did consider applying for the fair board. In fact, I started the application process, but I had to decide between continuing with the application or submitting paperwork for running for city council. So here I am. Now, as you are planning for events for the future, whether it's 2021 or thereafter, I would like to, at one point, have a conversation with you. I have some ideas to bring some events that particularly will be of interest for the Hispanic community in Inyo and Mono County. Our communities from both counties attend all events at the fair, whether it's Meal Day events or the fair. So I'd like to share some of those ideas with you and help or support in any capacity that I can.
That sounds great. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jen. I mean, you know, I'm an avid fan of the fair, and so I'm hoping that we can have it later this year. Otherwise, I'll just have to make myself a bunch of fried food and spin myself in the chair repeatedly until I get that same sort of experience. Thanks for your update.
All right.
All right, moving on to our consent calendar. So a notice to the public, all matters under the consent calendar are considered routine by the city and will be acted on by one motion. Do we have any questions or comments from the council on the consent calendar?
I don't have any public comments on our public comment email. Jenny?
There are no hands raised.
It's great to see a Public Works Department report. Thanks for adding that, Destin. And can I get a motion then?
I would like to make a motion. Thank you, Karen. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Garcia and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz. Robin, can we call for the vote?
Councilmember Kong?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item 11 is a public hearing and action. So it's a public hearing on the proposed ordinance relating to nuisances. Public hearing will be held to hear and consider public input on the proposed ordinance that designates and defines public nuisances. So is this going to Ron Andy Lang?
I think I'll just turn it over to Elaine. Thank you.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. As described by Mayor Mahovey in his introduction, this item is in regards to an ordinance that expands on our current definitions of nuisances and provides mechanisms for abatement. This item comes from council direction that was provided to staff on October 13th of 2020 to develop a nuisance ordinance that would expand our existing nuisance ordinances to address concerns that we've heard from the public through several rounds of public input since 2017 and particularly have received in the recent past. So this evening, staff is introducing an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the City Council, City of Bishop, adopting Chapter 8.06 Nuisances to Title 8 Health and Safety of the Bishop Municipal Code, repealing Section 8.28.120, accumulation on private property deemed a nuisance, and it makes the following revisions to the Bishop Municipal Code. Most specifically, it expands the definition of designated nuisances to include land that causes erosion that's detrimental to surrounding properties, buildings that have been abandoned for a period of 6 months or greater, vacant buildings that are insufficiently secure from unlawful entry, broken windows that are a hazardous condition, overgrown vegetation that constitutes a fire hazard, is likely to harbor vermin or causes appreciable harm or detriment to surrounding properties, dead, decayed, or hazardous trees, weeds, or other vegetation, accumulation of wrecked or inoperable vehicles, attractive nuisances to children, unsightly waste, accumulation of litter or debris in doorways or sidewalks adjoining commercial or industrial buildings, substantial lack of maintenance of grounds, which is detrimental to surrounding properties, maintenance of premises that are detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of the public, or any structure that is constructed with inappropriate permits or accumulation of litter on any lot in the city where it is not permitted as an acceptable use. The ordinance also provides the procedures for providing notice to the property owners of a property that may be considered a nuisance, the opportunity for a hearing to contest the public nuisance designation before the city council, and procedures for the city to recover the costs of abatement if necessary. The ordinance also removes the previous or existing ordinances regarding litter or accumulation of litter on private property, which would be made redundant by this ordinance. That concludes my overview of the ordinance before your council this evening, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have, but at this time, staff is requesting that the city council will hold a public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, so I mean, we don't need to do anything to open the public hearing, right? So do we have any comments from the public at this time?
No, ma'am, I hope you are opening the public comment at this time.
Okay.
Public hearing, sorry.
So we will open the public hearing at this time. Do we have any comments from the public?
I do not see any public comments on our public comment email. Jenny, do you see any hands raised?
There is one hand raised. Eric Leach?
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, just commenting as a member of the public. Actually, I had one comment and a question, and the comment was, kudos to the city for trying to address these issues. I think it's great. And I think that this addresses a lot of things that have come up in, various public workshops, as Elaine mentioned, over the years. My question was regarding buildings that have been abandoned for, I think it was 6 months or more. Is there any language in the ordinance that indicates how that determination would be made? And I can just take any response offline.
Okay. Thank you for that comment. Is that Is there any other comment from the public?
No, that's it.
Did you want that addressed, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. I didn't know if we would do it now or once it was concluded, but by all means, go for it.
Doesn't really make any difference. Thank you. So the question was about the provisions in there regarding buildings being deemed abandoned for 6 months or longer. There is a critical distinction between the use of the term abandoned and the use of the term vacant. And so this is not a vacant property registration ordinance. This is a cleanup ordinance to help staff delineate what are considered violations of our code and provide a procedure by which another procedure by which we can abate those and then subsequently recover the costs of that abatement. And so as it relates to that provision, the focal point on that provision is that it would require a property that be abandoned and truly abandoned. And those facts and circumstances are going to be, would vary on property to property. And so it really would be a case-by-case analysis as to what facts have staff gathered here on this property that deem or that we know it's abandoned. For example, a property owner dies. And there's no family members or no probate, we can consider that property abandoned. That is clearly distinct from a property owner who chooses to keep their property vacant under certain compliances. So if that's not, Eric, if that's not a sufficient answer, you can always get a hold of us offline and I can give you some further or answer a follow-up comment now.
He says, great, thank you, on our chat part of the window. Any other member of the public?
I don't have any more public comment.
Okay.
Jenny?
No one else has their hand raised.
All right, then can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Robin, call for the vote.
Councilmember Connell?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
You can pass it 5-0.
Okay, so now on to the council consideration to approve the first reading and introduction of the proposed ordinance that designates and defines public nuisances. Elaine, do you still need to take this or?
Well, I have nothing to add to my staff report. I would welcome questions from the council and staff's recommendation that the council conduct the first reading of the ordinance regarding nuisances by title only. Thank you.
Okay, council. Any questions or comments?
Mayor Mahovey, I'd like to say thank you for getting this to us. And Elaine, thank you. Great job on it. I think it's well done. It covers a lot of different nuances of problems we have around Bishop. I can speak for a group that has really been pushing for something like this since last August when we dealt with one of these problems. And I think this gives us, the city, some latitude and the ability to help out our community, help out the public who are basically been asking for something like this to deal with a growing problem. So I don't see any problems with it. I think it's well done. It gives us a lot of avenues and it puts this problem back onto the property owners, the landlords, and gives us a little teeth. So thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
I had a comment on the special hearing and how that would be conducted. I talked a little bit to Dean about it with questions and I wasn't sure, it seems that if the city administrator is the one that is citing a particular property, the city administrator can't be the one that's holding the hearing. And if we're the one directing the city administrator to cite a particular property, we can't be the ones holding the hearing. And so I didn't know if there was any comments from other council members on your thoughts about the special hearing and how we would do that, since we are such a small city and a small community.
I guess I'd like to hear what Dean and you talked about before I make a comment.
He said we could have an outside hearing officer, you know, like we would hire someone potentially from the public. So I just, it seemed like it could get messy there as something was appealed.
So generally speaking, it is pretty standard to have city administrators or chief executive officers named as the first level of appeal. It is a smaller jurisdiction, but frankly, I know that there has been some, it's not going to be Ron Phillips who is out issuing citations or out in the field doing this kind of work. I believe there has been some discussions once this ordinance went into place and some other cleanup ordinances about perhaps sharing some time with a code enforcement officer of the county or having somebody in the building department or public works department. So administratively, we can work through some of those those possible conflicts and not put Ron directly in that capacity. And also similarly, it is customary for a council to sit as the ultimate hearing board. Next step would be a superior court. The instances where Ron might send that out, or we might consider an independent arbiter of some of those facts, are for major cases or high profile cases, cases where we didn't have a quorum on council, or cases where Ron says he has a direct conflict. Then Ron does have the authority. It's very specific under state law regarding who can serve as impartial hearing officers. So if that case came out, we could give Ron some options about using a local attorney, a county representative, an individual citizen. There's a lot of options that we could do on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I mean, given that, I think I'm comfortable with the language that's in there. I mean, I think my thoughts, again, kudos to staff for getting this this ordinance written up, and as it is, and yeah, just to be clear, this is a property maintenance ordinance, not a vacant property registration ordinance, which is a different avenue. So they're basically, from talking to the community, I get a sense that there are two main problems. One is building owners or landowners letting their property fall into disarray. That's one problem. A separate problem that I think is a problem is building owners leaving their buildings vacant when we have housing shortages and all other manner of issues in town. And so this one deals with the first one. And in that regard, I think it does do a great job of items. I&J definitely do a great job on covering, say, a parking lot that has now become full of trash. It gives the city a lot of teeth to be able to address that. We can cite them, do misdemeanor charges, order abatement, do actual criminal charges, and actually it gives us a lot of leverage in addressing those. I especially like Article K that is in the new code that talks about the removal of old signage that the city can actually get to a point now where we have teeth to have people remove signage from businesses that aren't even there anymore, and maybe declutter some of our main street more. So I definitely think that it's a very good ordinance to address the first problem. Did Councilmember Kong or Garcia want to have some comments?
I just wanted to say that that I actually have K highlighted here, the sign one, because it's been an issue that I've had in my head for many a year about the signs that no longer, businesses that no longer exist. So I was thrilled to see that in here. I was also very pleased to see the nice methodical process that these owners can take if they disagree with us. That in order to have something that is fair all the way around, that process is really very well stated and very clear as to what the steps and the timeline and what they can do if they disagree. And so I really appreciated staff's effort to make sure that process was in there as well. Other than that, I had a few misgivings about just about staff time and Mr. Phillips' time, but I think we'll be okay. We'll figure it out, and the fact that there's a designee or a way to mitigate that as we go further, I think we'll be okay.
Councilmember Schwartz, just one final comment on your question or your observation. Part of the reason that in preparing this ordinance is it gives staff a roadmap on what to follow. And just as Councilmember Kong says, it's probably even more incentive than for individual council members to not get into the weeds on certain cases, because you know that you could be the ultimate appellate body. So it would just be a referral back to staff and a referral back to staff on questions so that you don't conflict yourself out. Council can give general direction. We'd like to focus enforcement on these areas, but the more you start getting targeted on specific cases, the more likely if that case actually appealed all the way up to you, that you'd have a conflict there. So just a final thought on that regard.
And to follow up on that, I mean, I think a lot of these properties come into question when members of the public complain to us and express their complaints to us. And then in that case, I think we would cover our bases by just directing them to file that complaint to the city. And then that kind of leaves us impartial in that regard. Jose, did you have any comments or questions?
Yes, no, not a question, but I'd like to congratulate Elaine and staff and everybody in putting this ordinance together. I think it's moving the city in the right direction as we address the needs of maintaining our city that is attractive to our visitors and for our future generations. It's addressing one need, and we still have the other area to address, which is the vacant, intentionally maintaining vacant buildings, which should be addressed separately, not targeting any particular building. It's just in general. So it's a huge step forward in the right direction. So congratulations and thank you, Elaine and Dean and everybody for working on this.
Cool. Any other comments or questions? Anyone wanting to make a motion?
I think, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, since it's listed as two separate items, I just want to double check, was there any separate comment or public comments?
No public comments on the public comment emails, and I don't see any raised hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
No raised hands.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proposed ordinance related to nuisances and consider we approve the first reading and introduction of the proposed ordinance that designates and defines public nuisance by title only. I believe that's what I'm supposed to word it as.
Yep.
I'll second that, Steve.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Robin, vote please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, adopting Chapter 8.06 nuisances to Title 8 to Health and Safety of the Bishop Municipal Code and repealing Section 8.28120, accumulation on private property deemed a nuisance abatement. Councilmember Kong?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving on to new business. Item 12A, Sunrise Mobile Home Park rent schedule changes. So the council to consider approve the proposed Sunrise Mobile Home Park rent schedule changes. And this is going to Dan and Carrie, I believe, but Dan first.
Yes, good evening once again, council. Tonight we have prepared for you a staff report. Carrie did most of the legwork, so I will go ahead and turn it over to her. She has quite a few documents in there for your guys' review. So without further ado, Carrie Poole, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thanks for allowing me to be part of this presentation tonight. It's been a while, so hopefully I don't stumble through it too bad.
Always a pleasure to have you, Carrie.
Thank you. So first, I would like to give a little background on the park, especially for our new council members who may not be very familiar. Sunrise Mobile Home Park was created through a subsidy program with the state in the early 80s. We had our first tenants that actually took residency December of 1982. At that time, it was 41 units and 1 manager unit. 16 of those units are owned by the city of Bishop and were rented out according to the qualifications and guidelines that were given by the state and followed the incomes of those low-income seniors. All of the tenants had to be qualified and requalified every year. So all of the rents were different for every unit. Some of them could be the same, but the formula was all based on their income. It definitely covered a need for housing for our low-income seniors who were struggling to find a place that was affordable and allow them to be independent living tenants on their own without having to put that on their family members. As the years went through, the state subsidies began to lessen. In 2009, they actually did an audit and they went back 3 years and we had to pay back the state, even though they were the ones who created the amounts of rents we could collect. Anything that wasn't what they said was excess had to be returned to them. And so there was no way for the mobile home park to actually create any kind of a bank of funding. When the program ended in 2012, it was decided by council and staff that the vacant units would begin to be sold that were owned by the city. And the first rent change increased to $225 across the board for all of those owner-occupied mobile homes. In 2015, we requested for all the units that were coming in with new tenants that were being sold, whether they were city-owned or privately owned, those increased to $300. And then in 2016, the rent for the owner-occupied units went from $225 to $250. We still have 4 units that are city-owned, and those rents, you can see on the spreadsheet, they range from $139 to $388. And that was based on their last qualification before that subsidy program ended. I went ahead and I hand-delivered letters last week to all of the tenants that it would be affecting. There's 22 units that it will be affecting. I only wasn't able to make contact with 5 of them. And many of our tenants, they don't have computers. You ask them to tell them to send you an email and they look at you like you're crazy. So I did offer them the opportunity to either give me a call or if they wanted to share a message to make sure that council heard that tonight. There was only 2 tenants that were a little concerned about how it was going to affect them, but not to the point of where they felt like they needed to provide any information to share with council. Several of the tenants actually said that they knew it was coming because when we had discussed in 2015 with the rents going up to 300, it was discussed at that time, creating a schedule then to help get everybody up on the same level. So doing this today provides us more than the 90-day provision that we have to have. And it'll also give them plenty of time to be able to reevaluate their finances. So you can see the first year is a 6% increase at $15 per month. This coincides with Civil Code 1947.12 that states that we are not allowed to charge them an increase of more than 10% or 5% plus the CPI, which is 2.1. So we're under that 7.1 that is allowable. And the plan is to do $15 the second year per month and $10 per month for the last 2 years. I think it's crucial to be said that we'll have to keep an eye on the CPI to make sure that we're going to be following that as we move forward through the years. But I think it's crucial that, we understand that we have a lot of projects that have to be taken care of at Sunrise Mobile Home Park. We are caring for our oldest and fragile community members. And so we need to make sure that there's no trip and fall hazards, that they feel safe and that they're comfortable where they're living. And so these funds that are collected for these increases will go back into create a bank in the enterprise fund to be allowed to start planning for some of those larger projects and take care of some of the hazards and the issues that we already know exist. So with that, I don't know if any of you have any questions. But that's one of the requests that we have is for you all to consider approving that 4-year schedule so we can get all those units up to $300 a month.
Yeah, thanks very much for that detailed report. I think it was really educational and informative to me, at least, even though I'm not necessarily a new member here. Yeah, to be clear to the public, I mean, one of the things that's happened at Sunrise Mobile Home Park is that the rents have changed as tenants moved in or out, and as units were sold. And so that's how we've ended up in this state where the rent is not uniform across all of the different properties. And as Carrie pointed out, there is a lot of improvements that need to be done with regards to tripping hazards on driveways and the streets there. And this will at least help us be able to actually do those sorts of improvements so that the tenants have a safe place to live. And the other thing to be clear is that there's still 4 units there that are for people that are in extreme cases of financial hardship. So those are not affected in this way. Is that a pretty good summary of things, Carrie?
Yes.
Any comments from the council?
Carrie, I just wanted to say I really appreciated the detailed report, especially the sheets about what other mobile home units cost. It put it kind of in perspective for me because I was feeling much more nervous about it at the get-go, and then as more I read and more I understood, they're still in much better shape than many others are. So I appreciate that a lot. It eased my mind. And I guess the overall concern that I have is the fact that we're going to need to make these changes, these improvements, these safety measures, and I hope that we can figure out a way to do it without having to increase the rent past the 300 point down the line.
I agree. We'll definitely have to be vigilant for that. And yeah, and just to make it clear to any members of the public watching on YouTube, increasing the rent on the city-owned, the Sunrise Mobile Home Park to $300 will still leave it at a good 30 to 50% less than the go-in market rate in the city of Bishop. The vast majority of other mobile home parks, their rent is upwards of $500 a month.
Well, and I think it's important that I need to add, $85 of that does go right now to cover their utilities, which includes their water, sewer, trash, and basic cable through Suddenlink. So I would say if there is any increase in the future, it would be caused to increases in those particular services.
And there's
Thanks for
also
adding
the
that, Carrie.
there's also the possibility if a tenant is unable to pay, they could partner with IMACA. There's rental assistance in the community. So it doesn't have to, come out of general fund dollars, but we do have other housing assistance programs that could benefit some of the seniors that are living there.
And Carrie, to address one of the concerns that you brought up in the future about watching the CPI, I would just say that if we were to just do a 5% increase year over year, we would end up at that anyway. We would end up at the $300 value within 4 years. So there's a little wiggle room there. Do we have any comments from the public?
I do not see any public comments through our public comment email. I don't see any hands raised. Jenny, can you confirm?
Yes, there's no hand.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed Sunrise Mobile Home Park rent schedule changes.
I'll second that.
All right, Robin, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Those are the changes as proposed or presented, Karen?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Kong?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 5-0.
All right. Moving on to Planning Commission. Council consideration to make an appointment to the Planning Commission to fill an unscheduled vacancy with the term ending April 9, 2021. Is this going to you, Robin?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay.
The Planning Commissioner, Jose Garcia, was elected as a City Council member on November 3, 2020, which therefore created an unscheduled vacancy on the Planning Commission with a term ending on April 9, 2021. The process for advertising an unscheduled commission vacancy was completed and resulted in the receipt of 6 applications. Interviews were conducted on Friday, January 15th, 2021. Planning Commission Chair Eric Leach would like to recommend on behalf of the interview committee for council to consider their recommendation. The notice of the scheduled vacancy on the Planning Commission was advertised in the Annual Register as required. There are no budget impacts for this appointment. Legal review, City Attorney Pucci has reviewed this item and finds that the recommended action complies with the law. If there are no questions further for me, staff would like to invite Planning Commissioner Chair Eric Leach to make the recommendations to Council on behalf of the interview committee. Eric?
Hey, can everybody hear me? Yep. Great. Well, greetings again, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, and esteemed city staff. First off, I just wanted to add, I want to thank our dedicated city staff for all the work that goes into scheduling and orchestrating these interviews. It's non-trivial, even though it seems like a simple thing. And also to thank both the council members and the commission members who generously participated in the interview panel. As Robin said, we had 6 applications for the vacancy, which I think is a super positive reflection on our community's interest and level of engagement in local governance. I wasn't actually part of the interview panel this time, but my understanding also is that these applications reflected the diversity of our area, spanning young local professionals to retirees and part-time residents. So I think that's also cool. But of course, from that diverse and qualified group, the interview panel had to narrow their choice to 1. And on their behalf, I'm very pleased to recommend to City Council that you consider appointing Andrew Gaitis to the Planning Commission. In his 2 years as a full-time Bishop resident, nearly 2 years, Andrew has demonstrated a commitment to community service as an active participant in local service clubs, as board member of local organizations, and also as a former water and sewer commissioner for the city of Bishop. Moreover, I think that the Planning Commission will be well served by his work experience in environmental planning, in community-based planning strategy development, and other professional work in data-driven policy development. So I think he's an excellent candidate. I'll just conclude with that. And I'll also mention to council members that Andrew is on the call with us tonight as an attendee, if the council has any further questions or comments.
Thanks for that, Eric. I actually did attend the interviews. Thanks for organizing those on a Friday morning for all of us, Robin. And I definitely want to echo that sentiment that it was a very positive experience seeing so many people from our community who were interested and willing to serve. And our one regret was that we didn't have more seats to appoint, because there were definitely some outstanding applicants in that particular group. And Andrew definitely demonstrated a good knowledge of what the Planning Commission does, how it all works, how it interacts with the city, what our organization does, and was very, I think he'll do a great job. Any other comments from council?
Yeah, quick comment. Andrew, I like the depth that you bring in. Sometimes some outside eyes looking in to someone's house per se is a good thing. You see things a little differently than maybe we do. So I appreciate your depth that you show here in the letter you wrote, and I look forward to, should you get appointed tonight, to working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I had a big smile on my face when I opened the agenda item and I saw that you were the one that was selected. And I've gotten to know you through the gym and just through the community. And I think that you will be a welcome addition to the Planning Commission. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council? Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself to all of us?
Sure. Yeah, I think. Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the consideration for this opportunity. I think I've met most of the council by this point, but just to introduce or reintroduce myself, my name's Andrew Gaitis. My wife and I moved to Bishop almost exactly 2 years ago. I think February 1st will be 2 years. And yeah, we absolutely love it here and plan on being part of Bishop for the long haul. The community has given so much to us from day one, and I know we'll continue to do so. And as such, we're always looking for ways to be involved and help in various ways that we can. And I think part of what excites me about this potential opportunity is that, as we all know, Bishop is changing a lot now, which is both really exciting, but also hosts a number of kind of somewhat interrelated challenges, affordable housing, economic development, homelessness. And I think that the city and the planning department will be making decisions, like especially around downtown plan and mixed use rezoning that'll have long-term impacts on the city and to the well-being of businesses and residents. And I think this is really exciting, and I would be honored to be able to be part of that process. So yeah, thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thanks for that. Any comments from the public?
No public comments received on the public comment email, and I don't see any raised hands. Jenny, can you reconfirm?
There are no raised hands.
All right, can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to appoint Andrew Gaitis to the Planning Commission with a term.
Second that.
Okay, Robin, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz,
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Welcome.
Congratulations, Andrew. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much.
Well, again, since we booted you off the Water and Sewer Commission just recently.
And he manages to survive my barking dogs, so that's always good.
Okay, moving along to a second reading and adoption of an ordinance relating to designating the city administrator as the director of emergency services. This is going to you, Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, if you could mute you got some feedback coming back. Thank you so much. All right, Council, good evening. This is your second reading and recommended adoption of an ordinance related to designating the city administrator as the director of emergency services. As Council will likely recall, current Bishop Municipal Code designates the mayor as the emergency services director. Fairly standard industry practice is to not have an elected in that position for various reasons, including just sort of continuity, administrative consistency, ease of access in the event of emergencies. And so it is fairly common to have the city administrator or the chief executive officer named as the emergency services director. This is really just a cleanup ordinance. I'm not sure how the change got made. It was for many, many years in Bishop. The city administrator was designated as the emergency services director, and for one reason or another that got altered. It is the recommendation of staff that council approve the second reading and actually approve the ordinance by title only, which would reorganize and designate the city administrator as the emergency services director. And I just lastly, I'll remind council, this does not take away any of the council's oversight or ratification authority. And frankly, any decision that the city administrator would make as the emergency services director would have to ultimately be ratified by the full council. So anything that is done is going to come across your radar screen anyway. With that, I'll open up if anybody has any questions or conclude.
No, it seems pretty straightforward. I think the main change that this makes is that I can't randomly come up with an ordinance and have it be in place for a week. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Which is fine by me. Any comments from the council?
No.
Any public comment?
No public comments received on our public comment email. I do not see any raised hands. Jenny, please confirm.
There are no raised hands.
All right, can I get a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of the proposed ordinance to amending Chapter 2.36, Emergency Organization and Services, to Title II, Administration and Personnel of the Bishop Municipal Code designating the city administrator as the Director of Emergency Services by title only.
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Robin, call for the vote.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, amending Chapter 2.36, Emergency Organization and Services, to Title II, Administration and Personnel of the Bishop Municipal Code, designating the City Administrator as the Director of Emergency Services. Councilmember Kong?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, moving right along. Item D, to approve the license agreement with the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for the North Sierra Highway Waterline Project. This is for you, Destin, right?
Correct. Yes. Good evening again, Council.
Uh-oh. Jim has a raised hand.
Uh-oh.
Due to my employment with LADWP, I'm going to recuse myself from this, Mayor Mahovey. So I'm going to turn off my little camera and sit here quietly.
All right, thanks. All right, please go on, Mr. Deshawn.
All right. Thank you again, Council, and good evening again. I have to talk to Robin, though. It's not fair having to follow the city attorney. He just speaks and just talks so well. But in 2016, the city of Bishop identified the south side of 395 from CV Lane to the Tri-County Fairgrounds as an area of potential growth, but lacking a municipal water supply. In an effort to potentially make more Los Angeles Department of Water and Power or LADWP owned land available for release, the Public Works Department has developed plans to extend the water system from the intersection of Home and Sierra Streets. The extension of the water main will be constructed on Sierra Street to its terminus and then continue north along the Sierra Street bike path to 395. From there, the water line will continue to the east and terminate at the west boundary of the Tri-County Fairgrounds. Eventually, this water line will be looped back to the Y Road area and will coincide with a future Caltrans project when it makes sense to tear up the road to complete that loop. Nearly all the water main will be built on LADWP land. The only portion that is not is the segment from Sierra Street from Home to the bike path. Normally, the city would enter into an easement agreement with LADWP for the construction and maintenance of the water line. But due to the location of this project and LADWP's needs to access and maintain the B drain, which is a ditch that runs along the bike path there, the easement was not a possibility for this and rather a license agreement. Currently, the bike path is covered by a separate license agreement, which hopefully will be eventually moved into a single agreement with the water line. The segment of the new water main that parallels the highway will be included in the agreement, but in the future, LADWP will convert that license agreement into an easement. The time frame to produce an easement is much longer and could delay the project for several years, not unlike the Sea Buddhist School path that took nearly 11 years to get that easement granted to us. The cost of this agreement is $618 for the 5-year term, and the funds for the agreement will come from the water fund. City Attorney Pucci has reviewed this item and finds the recommended action complies with the law. At this point, staff recommends that the City Council approve the license agreement with LADWP for the term of 5 years at a cost not to exceed $618. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Do we currently have any other water lines that we have to maintain that go through their property? I mean, we must, right?
Currently, we do not have any water lines. We have a sewer trunk line that goes to the sewer plant on LADWP lands, But as for, and we do have, and I will take it back, the tank, the 1 million gallon storage tank is also on LADWP lease. But main lines, no.
And have we ever come across any issues when they're doing work that they, would interfere with our water line accidentally? Would that be something to be concerned about?
Actually, no, Councilmember Swartz, I'm sorry. No, we've worked diligently with their survey team and their operations folks to place a water line where it would not be ever jeopardized with their maintenance. It'll be on the east side of the path and 5 feet east of that even. So about 20 feet from where they would be doing any work. And it will be buried at 3 foot cover, 3 foot of cover over the pipe. So heavy equipment, everything could travel over it without causing any concern.
So just so I can picture this, between the path and the fence?
Correct, yes. Okay. Yep, no, you're right. Exactly. It'll be really at 5 feet right up to the east of the path will be center line of the water line.
Any other comments from the council? I mean, I think this is a very worthwhile project in that we're always looking, it's a part of our long-term goal to be able to do infill in city limits. And there is a lot of property that goes along the North Sierra Highway that this water line would service. And it's all property that is currently owned by LADWP. And they are completely unwilling to look at releasing it if there is no water connection. So they definitely stand to benefit we stand to benefit from having this line go in place in that it'll make it available, or it'll make it so that they might relinquish some of that property in the future. I just want to be clear, like, I think we would still be the ones building the water line. So that would be coming out of our funds to do so, and which is a lot of money for Bishop to be able to do this. But I think in my mind, we're being team players and trying to help out our city grow in a responsible way and actually be able to do this infill. And I hope that the city of Los Angeles plays back as a team and really starts looking for, like, pushing forward to release some of the land that has been locked up this far.
Yeah, and I'll add to what you said, Mayor Mohove, is that LA's city charter does not allow them to sell water rights, whether that be surface or groundwater rights. So without a municipal supply of water, other than from LADWP, they are not allowed to sell that land. So this will hopefully, on top of servicing all parts of the city, which is our goal as the city of Bishop, is to provide water to every part of the city. It also will allow that land to possibly be sooner than later developed into something that would benefit everybody.
Councilmember
I have one
Garcia.
question real quick, and I apologize if it's in your staff report and I missed it. What is the timeline for actually doing this work on this land, assuming we approve this agreement?
Good question. So right now, the process is, this is basically done locally through their office, so the license agreement can be done quickly. I'm finishing up plans, specs, and bid documents to put the project out to bid. I'm hoping that we usually go on a 30-day release of the bid. So probably the late March, early April would be starting construction on it. So it's been a long time in the works, a couple of years of planning and getting there, but now that we're actually ready to do it, it will happen quickly. And the project is pretty much straightforward. Not a lot of street reconstruction. It's mostly out on the field or in the dirt. So you can see a contractor completing it in probably 3 weeks. It'll go very fast.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jose, did you have a question?
Karen asked my question, so I'm good. Thank you.
So I will obviously bring back to council a approval to award a contract. So that will be the next phase of what you'll see from the Public Works Department to the council.
Okay, do we have any public comment?
There are no public comments under the public comment email, and I don't see any raised hands. Jenny, can you reconfirm?
There are no raised hands.
All right, can I get a motion?
I will make a motion that the city council approve the license agreement number LA-886 with LADWP for the term of 5 years at a cost not to exceed $618.
I'll second that.
All right, Robin, call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis? Oh, sorry, he's absent, not absent. He's excused. Mayor Pro Tem Short?
Yes.
Mayor Mahovey?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, council.
Do we need to do anything to get Jim back? He's back. All right, the last item on new business, the Eastern Sierra Sustainable Recreation Partnership. So the council to receive a presentation on the ESSRP and to review the proposed projects currently submitted to the ESSRP. This is going to Ms. Kabala.
Good evening again, Mayor Mahovey and council. So I will provide a little bit of background and context for our new council members. The Eastern Sierra Sustainable Recreation Partnership, or the ESSRP, is a regional effort that has been undertaken by the Sustainable Recreation and Tourism Initiative, which is a grant-funded initiative facilitated through the town of Mammoth Lakes currently, and funded through Proposition 68 and the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. And this project kicked off about a year ago, and the intent was to go from community to community, from Lone Pine to Colville, and get input from each of those communities on what the sustainable recreation needs are for each. COVID made that obviously very difficult. So after only a couple of meetings, that entire platform was moved online. And so for most of 2020, there was an online platform where communities could submit sustainable recreation projects. And that commenting period closed in, I think it was late October or November. And then those different projects, there was 183 project ideas that were submitted from across the Eastern Sierra. And those projects were ranked by the community over 2 public meetings. And those top tier projects will then be eligible for the SRTI, this is the Sustainable Recreation and Tourism Initiative, to write grants to fund them. And so most of the projects that came out of that public input session are things that I think would bring familiar for all of us around dealing with dispersed camping and increased information to visitors about how to interact with our ecosystem, our landscape, and addressing things like human waste and investing in our existing U.S. Forest Service campground infrastructure. So concurrent to that public input process, the ESSRP also allows a dedicated channel for partners to provide project ideas as well. So this evening staff is coming to you. I'll provide you with the list of projects that have already been nominated by your city council to provide to the ESSRP for consideration. And then we're looking this evening for any additional projects that you would like us to submit to that forum. So the projects that were discussed in late October by your city council and will be submitted to the partnership include natural history kiosks that explain the history of the geology of the Owens Valley, mountain bike trail that would run from Mammoth to Lone Pine or Mammoth to Bishop, increased investment in bike trails immediately around Bishop, working with LADWP, developing informational signage around birding natural history along the Bishop Canal, adding a campground in the Bishop City Park to address dispersed camping needs and bring campers into the community, developing a Bishop to Laws Trail, which was also nominated by the public, developing a Bishop to the Tablelands Trail, which was nominated by the public, and developing a trail that would go from Bishop up Bishop Creek to the Bishop Creek Recreation Area. And again, that was another one that was nominated by the public. So that concludes my overview and background on this item. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I welcome any additional project ideas that you would like staff to provide and contribute. As Mr. Phillips said earlier this evening, there will be a partnership meeting this coming Thursday to look at the ESSRP projects. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for that, Elaine. I mean, I think, yeah, these were the ones that we discussed in October. Since then, we have had obviously a few months and a few new members. Are there any other thoughts on projects that have come up?
I don't know that it's a new thought on my part, but I have to say I'm not terribly sure about the whole idea of a campground in the city park. I can't visualize it. I don't know where it would be. There seems like there's lots to flesh out there as far as permanent use and maintenance and all of that, that if getting a grant as a quick fix might be nice in the thought process, but in the long run, is that really something that's sustainable? So that's my only thought and concern. Besides that, I love all the bike path ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid point. I mean, I think a lot of people who are staying in town, they are staying in our hotels and motels. It does seem like, I think, one of the big projects, and this is of course going to be a giant endeavor, and I'm pretty sure it's already listed in one of the hundreds of projects that are listed at the ESSRP, is to come up with a management plan dealing with dispersed camping. Because especially a lot of I mean, we saw it very clearly during COVID times when all the county campgrounds were closed, just the amount of impact that dispersed camping has had in our surrounding area. And so I think that's, I mean, that would be the only kind of project that I would add to this list, but I know it's already on the list.
I can add it again, because I think that it's certainly, I mean, it was my observation that with the ranking process of the 183 applications, like there there was definitely like some weighting that was provided to, aggregate the sort of repeated project ideas, since it was just this continued expression of concern. So I will include that as well. And then I would just say that I received an email earlier today from one of the supervisors in Monroe County who's trying to develop a kind of like ad hoc meeting regionally to discuss dispersed camping. I'd be happy to share that information with your council.
Please.
It's February 11th at 2 o'clock, but I'm happy to share the invitation when it's available.
Yeah. If I can, I'd be happy to attend that, just out of curiosity.
As would I.
Because I would say, like, not only I do think this is actually one of the avenues where if we were to have a good program to address dispersed camping, that we would be able to get funding from the state, because from pots of money that deal with fire prevention. Because I think that is, in addition to the impact with rubbish, because I'm not saying that people who are dispersed camping are just like trashing the place, but even those that are very responsible with leave no trace ethics and pack in, pack out, there is still the very real possibility of having a campfire go out of control. And typically those dispersed camping areas are regions that fire trucks can't reach with in a quick timeline. So that would be what I would advocate for.
I will include that in my comments. And then I just wanted to add that I had forgot to mention one other idea, project proposal that had come up, which was advocating for a recreation center to be located.
I think that's a great one. Any other comments from the council? Any from the public?
No public comments on our public comment email. I don't see any raised hands. Jenny, can you confirm?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, Lyndon, do you have direction?
Thank you. I do. I have sufficient direction to proceed. Thank you, council.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to future agenda items. Let's start with Jim.
Yeah, mute myself. I had a discussion with Ron earlier in the week about the Caltrans and the crosswalks. I know every once in a while it pops up before us from some members of the community. I just want to, I know, Ron, thank you, but I still want to keep that on our forefront if we can, just to keep looking at the crosswalks, especially with the upcoming year escape from the cities to get up here. So just want to see if we can continue to talk about that, maybe open up some kind of public discussion between us and Caltrans and the public, see what the pulse is.
Thank you. Destin and I have already had some discussion on that. We'll proceed.
Okay, how about Karen Kong?
I guess I would like to see what we could do about getting an update from the county on, or from Larry Emerson, on what's happening with the homeless nighttime parking situation at the Nazarene Church. I know that they were supposed to go back. I don't know if that's happened or not yet.
It is the first, the teens in February is when it's on their agenda.
Okay, so maybe we can have an update after that's done and see what's happening and what the plan is going forward, hopefully. And then I'd also love to have a county building update at some point to see, if they're on schedule and and what's, if anything's changed there.
Cool. Jose, do you have anything you want to add to a future agenda?
Unmute myself first. A couple of things. I was wondering if we're getting close to go over the mid-year budget review. I don't know if it's going to be during this month or next month. And also if we're going to
answer that.
I'm sorry.
Would you like me to answer that?
Sure.
Regarding the mid-year? I'm sorry to interrupt. It will be, we're hoping for the second meeting in February, but we'll know more by next week.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. Chief of Police recruitment, if we're going to start going over job description or anything like that. That's it for me.
So Councilmember Garcia, the process there, I believe, and Ron can correct me if I'm wrong, but the contract has been signed with the recruiting firm. They have requested certain information from the city, which I believe that Madam Clerk and Ron have been providing to him. The next step is that they will reach out with a draft publication, a draft a publication or a listing of the position for the city council to review and approve, and then we will meet and we will circulate that in advance of that becoming formal and live, so that the council can make any recommended modifications that it would like to it. And
Yes.
I anticipate that would be in advance, if not scheduled for the next council meeting. I think Ron and I both would not like to force council into another special meeting that is not necessary. So I think that the work is going to try and get it done by the next council meeting, so that we can get everything that any questions the recruiter has. Sorry, Ron, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Thank you, Dean.
I was just going to mention that all the information that they requested was sent to them last Thursday. So we should be hearing something fairly soon.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz, do you have any future agenda items?
I do not.
All right. I had a couple of future agenda items. One of them was actually crosswalk discussions. In particular, Jim, if you recall, last meeting, Councilwoman Kong referred us to a survey that Caltrans was doing. I found out that that particular survey, since it's a lot of people giving input, if we as the city council actually come up with a plan for where we would like crosswalks, what kind of improvements we could do, we could pass that wholesale to Caltrans via the LTC, and hopefully try to get them, because then it's a multi-government effort, multi-agency effort, and that increases the likelihood of those types of things happening. Our next LTC meeting is the third week in February, so I would like to maybe have that discussion in particular at our next meeting, so that then we can take those recommendations to the LTC and I can advocate on our behalf. So that was one of the items that I wanted to add on there. The other one that I wanted to talk about is today we went a good way, a good part of the way in addressing nuisance properties. I would like to have a discussion on vacant properties and what we can do about that. Since we have a new council seating, I think it'd be an interesting discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to council and committee reports. Let's go backwards this time. How about Mayor Pro Tem Schwartz?
Sure. I attended a BAWA meeting, my first one, on the 19th. And we received an update on the LUMO Title 22 engineering report. And we talked about the LADWP property acquisition, and they were currently working on an appraisal. We discussed the plans for irrigation and a website for the authority. It's a great project, and I look forward to attending more meetings and learning more about it. And I think learning about the irrigation will be really exciting. So that was our BAWA meeting. And then I'll just follow up on what Elaine had mentioned in our ESSRP meeting. I received an email from Bob Gardner, who is a Mono County supervisor, and he is creating a virtual dispersed camping summit on February 11th at 2 p.m. And he said his goal is to get all interested public agencies and others together to discuss the problem and to share our various perspectives. We will work on a short-term action plan for the spring, summer, and fall of 2021, and a longer-term plan for the future. Possible actions include marketing and education efforts, fees, increased volunteer programs, additional enforcement, signage, trash containers, and portable and eventually permanent restrooms. And he would like a representative from the city of Bishop. And so I thought I would bring it to you guys to see if anyone was interested. I think we probably could only have 2, given the Brown Act. So I was going to put it out there. If it seems like Karen and Stephen were interested.
I mean, here's a question though: does it pertain to city business?
No, I think it's a regional issue.
Then
I don't know. I mean,
does it fall under Brown Act, Steen?
So even if it pertained to city business, like as many council members could go as an educational, informational opportunity that wanted to go, you just couldn't discuss it. And even if it wasn't immediately apparent as an item that would appear on city business, you should probably just resort to the default, which is, let's just assume it is, and we're not going to discuss it amongst, more than a couple of us. But attendance is nothing if you just consider it an informational item.
Information sharing. Okay, well, anyway, I will forward. I'll just give Bob everyone's emails, and whoever's interested can attend. And that concludes my report.
All right, thanks. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you. Last week, Thursday and Friday, and this week again, Karen Kong and I are attending the League of California Cities New Mayors and Council Members Academy. And last week, it was very entertaining and educational. Entertaining because we got to see a council meeting on everything that you're not supposed to do. It was funny. Council members drinking during the meeting and arguing, and it was just hilarious. At one point, I didn't want it to end, but because it is everything, and I mean everything that you're not supposed to do. So I'm glad I'm attending. It's 8:30 to 3:30 on Thursday, which makes it a long day, but it's very, very educational. I'm glad that I am attending, and I highly recommend it to anyone. I'm sure Jim, Stephen, Karen Schwartz, you guys attended this before. It might be the same, or it may be different. I do not know, but it's so fun, and we can always learn something. And connecting to other mayors and council members from cities throughout the state, it's always a good resource. So that's my report.
I have nothing to say here other than thank you, Councilmember Garcia and Kong, for going to that.
Yeah.
All right, council and committee reports. Councilwoman Kong.
So as Jose said, I have been attending that in my kitchen, making cookies and doing other things as I'm watching. So, so that's the benefit of Zoom. I not sitting in a freezing cold conference center. Also, since the last meeting, I attended my first Owens Valley Groundwater Authority meeting, and I actually had a wonderful time. I really enjoyed it. I learned a bunch. I wrote a bunch of Owens Valley Groundwater Authority 101 questions, and I'm going to be meeting with Aaron Steinwan later this week to get all those questions answered. They seem as if they're moving forward, although it was a little difficult for me to tell how quickly they're going to be moving forward with this and actually what the timeline is for this. So I will have more to report back after I have my discussion with Aaron Steinwan. So that's what I did.
Awesome. Jim?
Okay, politically been pretty quiet. I do have one thing. I'll just give the council a heads up. It's not open to the public, but it's open to elected officials. There's it's coming to the ESTA program. The electric buses are being mandated from the state level. There is a electric bus demonstration in Mammoth coming up mid-month on February 16th from 12 to 4. And they're going to bring the company Proterra is bringing a bus up there and be opportunity to see it, see what they do. There'll be some little test runs and you get to hear what the noises are and what the bus is about. So just if you pencil that into your schedule, if you happen to be in the Mammoth area next month, that will be available. And I had an opportunity to go out and pick up trash this weekend down in Independence, and the dispersed camping thing that you talk about, it's not all dispersed camping, but it still amazes me every time I go. I found a recliner out in the middle of nowhere. Apparently someone was relaxing in the middle of nowhere. Across town was a 40-inch TV out in the middle of nowhere. Apparently they were watching TV there and moved to the other location maybe. Just the amount of bizarre trash that is out there. I know it's not all people from dispersed, but yeah, we have to do a better job of cleaning up our communities. So I thank everyone and enjoy the weather this weekend. It might be winter.
Yep. From my end, I also went to the Bishop Area Wastewater Authority. Karen covered that really well. We did the Planning Commission interviews and the LTC was canceled. So I don't really have much to report. And yeah, I just want to wish everyone a good week and enjoy the weather, but most importantly, be safe, because if we do get a foot of snow in town, I mean, that doesn't happen very often. So definitely there will be some slick conditions out there. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting until Monday, February 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Thanks everyone for coming.
Bye everyone.
Bye.